Hello and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today we are continuing our read of The Lost Metal with chapters 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 7 entire chapters of The Lost Metal this time, wherein Wayne and Marisi get into a fight, or they kind of get into individual fights at a point, and that goes it's about as well as it could. And Wax mainly has some fun with his son, which was some really sweet kind of stuff to read, and also meets the new ambassador from the South. So I'm Data, and with me is
Joe,
Jack,
and Jamie.
Hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
No man can truly outlast all the mistakes of his past. There's no haven here for me that's safe from my memories. But when your borrowed time is through, I'll be with you.
So yeah, big chunk of chapters this time. But I think we're going to have that a couple times this book because, like I said before, the chapters are kind of shorter on the whole. So what did you guys think of these 7 chapters?
Oh, wow. Well, what a great way to start a book off here. Nice fight. We see our heroes have progressed with the use of their powers and their strategy in the years that we've missed. So really cool bits here with Wayne being able to use his bubble in different ways. You could tell that he's grown both in character and in battle strategy. Very cool fight between Marisi and this Trell dude. Got some good spooky vibes in there too, which I always appreciate. A little bit of spooky vibes, not vibes like of spook. I don't appreciate that, but the vibes where things happen that are creepy. Yeah, no spook vibes, please. Let's get rid of those. Wax and his son, I mean, it's adorable, right? It's also, I don't know why it shouldn't annoy me, but it also kind of annoyed me that he's rocking around with his dad. I know it's supposed to be cute and fun, but I don't know, something about it bothered me. And then
I'm gonna agree with you that I was a little bit like, oh, okay, you have harnesses and stuff, but I'm a little bit scared of what's happening here.
Yeah, it just seemed, Wax is one of those guys. He kind of does whatever he wants, and his son's obviously into it. And, he got to poop on an airship, which is all fun. But, I was just kind of like, I don't know about this. And then, we meet this really kind of, I don't know what the word is for it. I guess there's a lot of tension between this new admiral named Ambassador and Wax. Obviously, there's been some kind of shift in policy back with the Malwish, or at least that's what Wax believes has happened, because this guy's definitely I don't know if xenophobic is the right word, because probably not, but he's definitely like Malwish or better. We could have taken you if we'd have known about you a few years ago, all this other stuff. So that was an interesting dynamic to kind of see, I guess. And then I really liked the stuff with Marisi coming back to the constabulary, doing her job, Reddy being very supportive of her. I agree with her that, like, if I walked into my place of work and everybody applauded me, that'd be super awkward. So totally get that. So but overall, I really enjoyed each of these chapters. I do have a little bit of problem with the pacing. I don't think that these chapters are paced very well, especially with like how many chapters they are and how they cut back and forth between the perspectives. That part of it kind of bothered me, but other than that, I enjoyed the content itself. I think it could have been tightened, like maybe a couple chapters could have been combined and stuff, but other than that, great stuff.
It is nice to see Marisi being successful at her job and people appreciating her, as opposed to the last time we saw her when she was just everyone like hating on her and stuff on Reddy's behalf because they feel that he got passed over or whatever. So I guess now that he's in charge, he doesn't have to feel like an asshole about it anymore.
Yeah, which that was the situation in the last book, but of course we were not in Ellendale very long in the last book at all, so we didn't really get to see that dynamic play out.
Yeah, I think the only time we even heard from Reddy was like the telegram when he confirms their identity and says like, be careful of not letting Wayne steal stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, like I think the Marisai stuff was my favorite part about these chapters, definitely. So, yeah, seeing her dynamic with Reddy made me think, oh, you guys have come a long way, and it's actually really cool. Like, I get the feeling in the 6 years they've had to work together very closely, Reddy in that position, and like they've come to have more of a mutual respect for each other. So I'm really glad to see how that's all panned out. Her fight scene with the Trellish agent was terrifying. I really liked that. I thought that was a great action beat. Yeah, I think the Marisai stuff was definitely the top, like the best parts of these chapters. Like, I like the Wax stuff. I thought him flying around with his son was fairly cute, and like meeting the Maoish, the new ambassador, was interesting. But it's very much a let's see where this goes. Like, it's definitely a this is setting stuff up, so it is kind of cool now, but like the payoff for it all will come later. Whereas like all the Marisai stuff was very much in the moment. We are getting this paid off now, and so that was just satisfying, I think. But on the whole, good chapters. I feel kind of greedy with how many we got this time. So yeah, looking forward to bigger chunks, I guess, but not really, but kind of.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see on that. But yeah, there's bigger chunks, but not bigger chunks of text. I agree that the Marisai and Wayne stuff kind of feels more rewarding in the moment than the other setup stuff, and it maybe that goes along with what Joe was saying about the pacing, where it's like we have these big action beats, and then we're cutting back to like Wax hanging out, having a good time with his kid. It does seem a little bit like breakneck, the jerking back and forth between the two, but
yeah. But I guess I've read so many book series where the perspective between characters does flip back and forth that regularly, so it didn't bother me as much. But I can see your point.
But we get some cool. It's fun how Wayne and Marisai are both developing their allomancy and using it in combat more. And Marisai's got the new version of the grenades or whatever from the previous book.
And that was something that made me think. I feel like Wayne is developing his allomancy because Marisai is now his partner and she's pushing him to do that. Wax wouldn't have thought to, teach him to improve. Like, she herself is improving, so she's encouraging Wayne to do it as well. And Wayne is taking that on board and is doing that. I feel like that's a very different dynamic to what we've seen of Wayne before. So it's nice to see they're working together, but she's pushing him to try and just do better in general. So I thought that was a nice dynamic between those two characters.
Yeah, it's true. Like her first forcing him to grow to some extent is that's nice to see. And it's interesting because we've had 3 books so far, and Wayne's never like kind of improved in his allomantic abilities, at least that we've seen. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I can do all this stuff that I couldn't do before. Like the last 6 years have done well for him.
Yeah, so that's very much her influence. Like, so it's cool to see, like, oh, this old dog is learning a few new tricks thanks to someone else.
Yep, Marisai's good for him.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying just seeing all these characters actually find a bit of a happy place. Marisai's doing super well at work, and Wayne is just getting better. Wax is, happier than he was out in the roughs. I like that scene where he was like, I actually don't want that anymore. I've missed it, but I'm not longing for it. It's a big change for him. Steris is happy and the kids are great, and it's just like, oh, yeah, cool. They're all happy. They're all doing their thing. They found their spot, and we just know it's going to go to shit real quick, I think. But yeah, I can sort of see the points about the pacing. Things, some are a little bit slower. I feel like obviously we're trying to get to a point where they all meet up at the same time. So I assume that's where we're going to pick things up. So the Wax stuff sort of has to get dragged out a little bit further than that. But I quite liked the jumping between, where everyone was up to and sort of back to Marisai, back to Wax. I thought it was cool. I love Wax as a dad. I think that's really fun. Yes, safety's probably questionable. I also probably wouldn't have decided to take my 5-year-old to meet the airship. I probably would have said, hey, maybe you should go and be with Mum for a minute while I go and sort that out. But he did get to poo on an airship. Now, how many 5-year-olds can say they've done that? So definitely some winning points, I guess, in the dad column for Wax there. But Max seems like just a really cute little kid. And, some of the things you can relate to. I mean, obviously we don't have a 5-year-old, but our buds are, almost a year and a half. And the laughing and the joy they get out of things, and you're just like, oh, I love that, and I love that Wax loves that about his life, and yeah, it just makes me really happy. But characters aside, I'm really excited about the story, and finding this extra spike and the mystery of Trell, and how deep it goes, I guess, with all the characters, and then the religions that we've already established. I think that's going to be really exciting to learn about. And I'm also really happy that we're setting up a story, but we've already had some action. We've already had some stuff. Watching, obviously, Wayne's developing with his speed bubbles, being able to overlap them and pull individual people out of his speed bubbles. I thought that was really cool. And everything that like Marisi's doing with the allomantic grenades and stuff, that's all really cool too. So I think, I'm loving where everyone's got into 6 years. Sometimes you look at a time jump and go, nah, too much. That's just the purpose of having a time jump. But it's nice to see that our characters have actually grown and developed, and things have progressed in that time, but not too much that you jump in going, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. It feels just about right for the growth on these guys. I love what you said about everyone being happy, and you're like, and of course it's all going to go bad, because that was my thought. And especially at that moment with Wax, when he's just like, you know what, I'm actually happy for the first time in like all this time, like I'm satisfied. And I was like, oh, don't say that.
Like,
that means
now you've said it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm sad that that's going to happen, but I'm happy for them in this moment.
Yep, agreed. He deserves to be happy, even if it's just going to be for a little bit, maybe. Who knows? Okay, I guess let's move in to these chapters, because we got a bunch of chapters to go through this time. So when we left off, Wayne and Marisi were trying to plan an attack, and then were surprised by a guy peeing, and it all went to hell. So it's time for a fight to break out. And so they go to, because there's only the one door leading out of that big cave to where they are, at least that they know of. So Marisi sets up and just like pops the first couple of guys that come through with her rifle to make anyone else scared of coming through. And then Wayne calls the allomantic grenades magic boxes. And he's like, yeah, magic boxes from your boyfriend. How many of them do you have? She has 3 allomantic grenades, one of which Wax charged for her before we left. So I hadn't even considered that, and maybe because we never knew how long these things could hold charge before. And apparently it's longer now than it used to be, but that's a cool idea that you could like get a different allomancer to charge one for you so you can use it later. And so she's also apparently gotten real good at like tossing these very precisely, which if these are going to be a primary weapon for you in battle, you probably would practice throwing them just right. And we get a note that like Alec does revere all metalborn, so all we saw the last time was him finding out at the end that's like, oh, by the way, I'm an allomancer too, and being like, oh, okay. But here it tells us he's equally impressed with her abilities. And so if he's as worshipful of her as he was of Wax, I think that might make for an awkward relationship, but whatever. It's none of my business.
He does his worshipping in the bedroom.
Oh my.
I also like the fact that it's like with the new designs, she doesn't actually have to go into a bubble to charge the thing, which, yeah, that would be a big drawback of trying to use those in battle. And so of like 30 guys in here, she manages to trap like 18 in bubbles. And it says that the grenades have a 10-minute charge, but I guess that's like 10 minutes of real time, which will be way longer for them.
Like they pull them out of the bubble, and it turns out one of them is actually aged quite a bit, so much he's now got like a broken hip or something. It's like, what day is it? What year?
Sorry about that, man. Sorry. Or I guess actually, technically, it's way less time passes for them than passes outside. So yeah, it's.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't thinking about that, right?
Their children have grown up or something.
it's
Yeah, have we talked about that, or have we addressed that in the past? Like Wayne possibly aging faster because he uses so many speed bubbles?
Maybe that's why he's doing the old man jokes. We've mentioned it once or twice.
I think we've mentioned it like in the first book, and there was a whole Brandon quote which boiled down to don't think about it too much.
that sounds like the kind of thing that he would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think about it so much.
Hey,
It's like
why are you gonna be like that, man?
that reminds me of like there's an episode of Family Guy where he's like, "Oh man, I feel bad," and his friend's like, "Ah, don't feel bad, Peter." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
I remember that, yeah. He's like, oh man, I feel so bad. No, don't worry about it, Peter. Wow, I just never thought of it like that.
We get at one point Wayne comes back and he's been shot, and Merritt's like sloppy. He's like, hey, now any fella can accidentally get shot now and then. And she asks how much Bendaloy he has left, and he says plenty. And she's like, I'm proud of you, Wayne. You're being frugal like I asked. And then there's this whole thing where she's like, she's thinking she's legitimately proud of him. He gets an allotment from the department, and early on he was always running out. But then it turns out that's because he kept using it for stuff that was not part of the job, like playing pranks on people.
Sure. Pulling people's pants down, messing with their stuff, makes sense to me. If I was going to use Bendaloid, that'd probably be one of the ways I would use it.
So expensive, though. And so then we see the cycle breaking off, and Marisai decides to run him down while Wayne stays and takes out the other 11 guys that are left, not in speed bubbles. And she's like, you are better with groups, but are you sure you can handle this many? And he's like, most of those boxes are full of stuff what goes boom, right? And she says, yes. He goes, sounds like fun to be had. So, and that's when he points out that he can use his bubbles to go in and grab the guys out of the slowness bubble one at a time after he's beaten all the other guys in the room. And she's like, Wayne, I didn't know that you had you were getting so much control over that. That's great. Have you told Wax? Which is kind of random, but it's like, your dad will be so proud of you. Go and tell him.
Actually, though.
The way he sponges off of Wax, it's kind of like he's their kid. So.
Yeah.
Although it sounds like he's spending a lot more time with Marisai now than he does with Wax, since they're partners.
Don't know if he's still living in Wax's house or what, but
yeah, apparently he's in some kind of financial trouble, which is like the opposite of what we thought 6 years ago. We thought he was super rich now.
Well, they said he was super rich. They said he's one of the richest men in. Maybe he's electrical inventor girl. He's maybe her patents have dried up or something.
She's thinking about him setting off explosions, and she's like, okay, I guess I'll leave him to that. Hopefully he knows what he's doing. But any blast that separates his metal minds from the bulk of his body would leave him dead, just like the Lord Ruler when he'd lost the bands of mourning centuries before.
I know what this little bit of script is doing. It's giving us some exposition about how his powers work. But I also am I don't think in the middle of a fight, Marisai would be thinking, well, if he gets blown up too much, his bands won't work. She wouldn't be thinking of all the technical aspects of it in the middle of a fight. Maybe Steris would, but I don't believe Marisai would be quite that prolific in her head about exactly how it works. She already knows how it works. Why would she be thinking about how it works in her head?
It's like the phrasing. If an explosion that separates his metal minds from the bulk of his body, he lost 80% of his body from the metal mines, so he's not going to make it now.
Right. Yeah. It's who I don't know. Nobody thinks that way. That's not a normal way to put something together, unless, like I said, you're like Steris and maybe her mind works like that. But in the middle of it, especially in the middle of a fight, I feel like those are not the things that you would say in your head. Not in that way, anyway. It's unnatural.
Taking the fight part out of it, I'm curious as to what is the worst thing that could happen to you that you could come back from.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about being shot in the head, that you can't recover from that. What is how many limbs could you lose? What? I know 80% of your body. I want to know what's the worst thing that could happen that you could come back from.
Right?
Yeah.
Me too.
And I feel like a lot of these fictional characters that have these healing abilities, they take a lot of liberties with what they can come back from. For many years, with the X-Men as an example, it's like Wolverine. It's well, if he gets his head cut off, then he can't survive that. But then I think in the Civil War comic, he was in a nuclear blast and it was just his bones, and somehow he healed from that. So the rules aren't always set in stone, I feel like, for this kind of stuff.
That annoys me.
Well, I guess. Yeah, I think it's especially in comics, it's very much it depends on who's writing the comic, because they make up, they'll just change the rules as they see fit. At least in a series like this, it's one consistent writer the whole way through, so you at least hope that he will keep the rules consistent. But when Wolverine or Deadpool have their heads cut off, they always make a point. It's well, the body can't make oxygen. Hell, the amount of times like the bad guys have nearly killed Wolverine by trying to drown him is through the roof, because doesn't matter if you can heal or not, you can't just make oxygen for your lungs. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that'd be the same for Wayne, but I guess it depends on which organs he can survive temporarily without, or how quick he could grow them back.
I would wager that Brandon has a pretty good idea in his head of the limits, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he will put them down in black and white on the page for us, or even if he does, that the people saying it on the page actually understand the truth of how it works. As we've seen many times before, they don't always necessarily know as much as they think they do.
Yeah. And I guess if he has the rules like himself, but he doesn't spell them out in the book itself, it gives him a bit of leeway, just deciding, originally I didn't think Wayne would be able to survive that, but I've changed my mind. Now he will, and he's not retconning anything.
Yep. That's the smart thing to do, is leave yourself a little leeway just in case something cool needs to happen.
Yeah. Don't establish the rules unless it's proven that whoever's saying the rules doesn't quite understand them themselves.
Yeah, that's always been an interesting idea for me about writing in general. Like, if I was to write fiction, I feel like I would need like a character Bible where I wrote like all of the different personality traits of the characters, but then like you don't want to set those in stone. I've actually seen interviews with writers and be like, yeah, I had set that down before I even wrote the story, that this person was going to do this thing at some point in the story, and I kind of wrote myself into a corner where it had to happen, but when I got to that point in the story, I really wanted them to do something else. And so it's like you have to find this weird balance of knowing your characters very well from the outset, but also leaving room for like future creativity or things you want to change while the story develops. So it's kind of a weird, it's kind of a weird balancing act, I feel like.
And sometimes you'll get into it and you'll be going along, and then you realize that like the thing you'd originally planned, like the character that you've written now, wouldn't do that thing. And so it's like, okay, hold on, I have to, or sometimes you just get inspiration based on the personality for the character that you've developed. And you're like, wait, like actually they would say this next. And so you can surprise yourself sometimes. It's interesting.
Right.
So, okay. So we move into the next chapter, which jumps back to Wax and Steris, and they are kind of commiserating over the Senate disaster, basically. And it's like, we did everything that we could do. And at first Wax is like, did we do everything we can do? I know you had more ideas. And that starts setting her off, where she's like, wait, did we not? And then he has to come back and it's like, no, we did. We did everything that we could do. You're right. You don't doubt yourself. We worked as hard as we could to get this, and it just didn't work. We got to move forward. And he pulls out an envelope that he finds in the corner of his desk. He's like, it has a bullet in it, or what is this? And it's an earring with a note that says, you'll need to make a second one once the proper metal arrives. And Wax goes, not today, Harmony. Leave me alone.
Because I found that very interesting, because it's like, like he has to make his own earring. Like, he's obviously delivering an earring, and that earring is potentially to talk to Harmony. So why would he need to make another one, and what other metal would it be? The only thing I can think of, based on, and I'm kind of burying the lead here, or I'm not burying the lead here. The only thing I could think is the Marasai's got this Trellium, and that maybe Harmony wants to make an earring out of Trellium, but I don't know.
I mean, I really want to open him up to Trell's influence.
I don't know. I don't know how those spikes work, or how that would work as an earring. I don't know how much control he has with that, but
yeah, because I guess you got to ask yourself, like, if Harmony wants an earring made, he has access to presumably whatever metal he wants. So if he's telling Wax to make one, then it's like, well, what metal would Harmony not be able to make? But at the same time, Dak's right. It's like, if it was that one, is that really a good idea?
I wonder if wearing both at the same time would help, like, give some of that powers, like, lessen some of the power of both of them, like more of a balancing thing, but I don't know.
I mean, maybe, like, but the bloke that Marasai fights in these chapters has, like, one spike of Trellium and spikes from Harmony's influence as well, and he seemed to get along okay.
It's true.
I guess we don't know, like, the extent of what it would do, but yeah, he definitely had both, like, metals from both in him. So,
and I'd kind of hoped that Wax had, made peace with Harmony at the end of the last book when he had his after death or near death experience, whatever you want to call it. But he's still a little pissy. Where she says, "What's that?" And he goes, "Something from Harmony." So probably something useless. I was like, "Oh, geez, okay, burn, God."
I think it's more a case of like he's acknowledged that Harmony's made a good point, and so he's not quite as harsh as he was. Like he's not throwing the damn thing out and raging at it, but he had some very strong feelings about that he held on for a long time, and I can totally understand. Like even after years, like there's still a little bit of that resentment. He may not hate him as much as he used to, but he's still just a bit. We're not on the best terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even in that point in the last book where he's talking to Harmony and Harmony's pointing out some truths about him, I think it says like while he understood, it also like didn't make him any like happier. He was just like he was annoyed that Harmony was making so much sense. Basically, it's like he's got kind of that petulant side to him where he's like, no, I thought about it this way, and I can see that you're right, but I don't want to admit it. Basically,
He's still upset about it all, which is fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to blame him. Like, some pretty messed up stuff happened back in Shadows of Self, but...
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you can look at something and go, okay, I do understand why you made the decision that you made. And when we talked it out, I get it, but it doesn't change how I felt at the time, and it doesn't erase those feelings that I had. And it's like, okay, we just have to kind of agree to disagree. It's like if you have a massive fight with your best friend or something, you might patch it up, but it's still a bit weird for a while. I feel like where we are.
I like that. That's a good comparison. I like that.
Yeah.
There's also a good note that it's like, so Steris technically is a survivorist, but being this close to actually being involved with God has given her a little bit of a different view on things.
Maybe I have to just slightly switch up my views a little.
Right? Yeah.
She's got like an itemized list of everything about, the proof of the existence of God and the faceless immortals and all the stuff she's went through. And she's comparing that with her list of like the tenets of the Parthian religion, and sort of just like, now where can I find the similarities so that I can still follow this religion while acknowledging this is a thing?
She probably holds all of the answers to the mysteries of Trell anyway in some of her itemized lists. She's already compared it all and has figured it out, and she's just going to wait to see because she's only 7% useful or something.
Marisai is just like moves a paper off their desk looking for something related to her case, and she picks up this binder. It's like, hey, what the hell is this? And Sarah says, oh, that's all the proof of Trell and like everything that he does. And like, what?
Yeah. Her powers of deduction have deduced that this is how it all goes. It wouldn't surprise me.
Flipping through the binder, she's even got, it's like, so here's a shard, and it is this shard, and like, how do you know this guy? Like, oh, I interviewed our new driver, this guy named Hoyd.
Yeah.
I love the sentence where it's just like, well, he and God had history. Like Wax is like, yeah, me and God, we got history. It's a whole thing. So he's just not in the mood to deal with Harmony right now. And then Max tugs on his coat, and I gotta say, I don't know if I mentioned it last time. Maxillium is a weird name to me. And I get it, it's like Waxillium, but you can shorten it to Max, so it's easy to say and stuff. But I was just like, come on, that's odd.
Just go for Maxillium.
I agree. Or just name him, Sterillium. I don't know, something more interesting.
That sounds like he's sterile.
They're trying to combine their names, Steris and Waxillium. Sterillium. Actually sounds like a metal.
Waxus. I like that better, actually.
Yeah. Or he could have honored his buddy and called him Wayne Jr.
Oh my God, can you imagine how egotistical that would have made me?
Oh, yeah. Well, at least his name's not Lestborns,
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That would have, Steris apparently likes traditional names, so.
Yeah.
Could have happened.
Yeah. Okay, so a question to the group. If you could name your child after yourself, but changing only the first letter, what would you name your child?
There's no way that comes out good for me, so I'm just
yeah. I mean, I guess I could name him Mo, but that sounds terrible. Let me think. Poe? No, I hate Poe Dameron, so not that. Let's see.
Poe? Not so good.
Yeah, Doe, also not good. That's what Homer says. It's also a female deer.
Deer. Yep.
Zoe might be cool with an X.
Well, it could be like a Zoe if it was a girl and you just replace the first name.
That's
Zoe.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I mean Bo, but that'd be a really weird way to spell Bo.
Foe. You could name your kid Foe.
Yeah, I'm not naming my kid Foe, that's for sure.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
He's already been named, so we're good. We don't need to go down this rabbit hole.
Name your son Yo.
Yeah. Be like, hey honey, let's rename him.
Yo.
What do you want to rename him? Yo. She's like, no.
Anytime you call her to, it was like, hey yo.
She'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go stay at my mom's for a while. So.
Yeah.
It's funny. Somebody on the Discord the other day was talking about. It's like I saw this post where this person was talking about how like Data from Star Trek and Data from the Goonies are the only two people in history ever named that. And it's like I was like, you got to listen to this podcast. And I was like, well, I mean, technically, what I'm using comes from the Star Trek character originally.
Star Trek guy.
And they're like, wait, that's not your actual name? I'm like, no.
Who names their kid Data?
Yeah, and so I explained that for Dak and myself both, we did not use our actual first names on the podcast, and apparently this blew some minds.
Can you imagine?
Joe.
So the brothers, Data and Joe, like what parents would do that?
It was like you clearly had one geeky parent and one down to earth parent. Apparently.
Yeah.
You each got a naming right. Yeah.
Yeah, for all you know, Joe's not even my real name.
It's true. It might not be.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Joe and I need to come up with a code name for this podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it might be a bit late for that.
I'll be
a little bit.
I mean, Jamie's not my real name.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be J Money, and you can be. Oh well, we're both J's, so that doesn't.
Yeah,
work.
that's it.
Well, if you're going to be J Money, I'll go Joe Money.
No, we should probably reverse that. I'll be Joe Dog, and you can be Joe Money.
Jay. She's also Joe.
Yeah, why not?
Oh gosh. Oh man.
Oh man.
But yeah, Dak is not my real name, and it's not from the Star Wars character that we talked about a few weeks ago either. It's like it was something else.
None of you are going to guess it.
Yeah, it's so obscure, nobody's gonna ever know.
Which
Yeah,
is
I'm
actually
just
And look,
the lamest.
to be
story.
honest, Data, I can never remember your real name. Every time we talk about it, I'm like, Dax, what's his name again? So, even listeners, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
Well,
I had to
you don't
explain to
remember.
people- Yeah.
I don't remember.
I was like, at this point in my life, I think actually more people that I know me as Data than by my real name, so it's fine.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
that's what it is.
I think Dax does the same thing.
Yep.
We're children of the internet, and a lot of our friends called us by names that were like our screen names or whatever. Like, so there's a lot of people that know me by my real name, but then a lot of other people who know my real name but call me by my screen name online. It's just a thing.
True.
Yep.
If you're into Final Fantasy, you might be able to guess what my screen name is.
He's a big Final Fantasy nerd.
Yeah. Nerd. Yep.
Oh.
As if people didn't know that by now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But,
Well, if you're with us
His
on
name, or
episode
that he's a
like
nerd?
131. Yeah, that.
But he's a Final Fantasy nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're with us all the way to episode 131 from the beginning, I think you should know that I'm into Final Fantasy. I think we've referenced it quite a few times.
At least 100 times.
Yeah. Well, let's just go one more. Red 13. Red 13. Red 13. Red 13. That's not my screen name, by the way.
Although that's a very specific call out, given that it's not what we were just talking about. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always think of Condra and Red 13 since
yeah.
we had
Yeah.
Tensun was a dog for so long.
Talkie dog, sure. But speaking of Wayne Jr., we get little Max is like, "Is you sad, Pa? I hates the sads, right? Bad they is."
Look, I didn't hear Wayne Jr. I heard, "Is you sad, Pa? There's a possum out here again."
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It didn't sound like Wayne's like kind of British Cockney thing. It sounded like country bumpkin. It's like, "Is you sad, Pa?" He's like, "Shut up, boy."
From the audiobook, it did sound like Wayne, and I got really confused.
He was doing a really good impression of Wayne.
Well, because I didn't listen to the first lot of the chapters. I read them, but then this time I listened to them, and I'm thinking, I was like, oh my god, is like Maxillium is actually Wayne's son? Like,
Oh
what's
my
going on
God.
here?
Steris and Wade had an affair?
Oh, that
I
would
mean,
never happen.
no, but I was just like, what is this? Why, Max, why do you sound like that?
I think it's more likely that that I would like Spook than Steris and Wayne would have an affair.
I agree,
Agreed.
but oh my God.
We talked about before we even knew for sure that Wax had a kid. We're like, don't let him spend too much time around Wayne. And see, this
Yeah.
is the kind of thing. This is why.
Yeah. Is she sads, Pa? I darn hate the sads.
I always just go to Dragon Ball Abridged, and they're talking about Vegeta as a parent, and it's like, would you leave Vegeta alone with a kid? Well, not my kid, says the mother of his child.
But Max is like, you know what makes me feel better when I'm sad? And Wax is like, oh, hugging Tenny. So he's got like a stuffed Condra, a stuffed Sunni pup or whatever they're called. And Max is like, well, I mean, yeah, that, but also flying. And here comes Hoyd. Your carriage, sir? And Hoyd's like, or Wax is like, yeah, thanks, Hoyd. You take the others. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna fly.
So,
Man, he really wrote this dude off. I was just like, Hoyd again, but didn't Hoyd leave his service? Now he's back? I'm confused.
so
Yeah.
Hoyd
That's what I
worked
thought.
for him, showed up as a hobo a while later that threw a coin at his head, and now works for him again. I'm just like, Hoyd, like, are you just stalking Wax at this point?
Also, Wax, when are you going to get put two and two together, man? It's the same guy.
I mean, he even says his name as Hoyd in both situations, and I think we talked about it at the time, like when he threw the coin at Wax, which is like, Wax is. Do you think Hoyd's like a common name? There's just a lot of people have that, or what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's
It's
like,
the
oh,
James of Scadrial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
He probably ran into Hoyd one day and he's like, oh yeah, didn't you used to work for me? And then, oh yeah, you were that guy that gave me that coin. You're a cool man. Hey, you need work again? I need a new carriage driver.
My last one had an accident.
Well, no, my last one kept getting mad because I kept breaking the carriage by jumping out of it real fast when danger would happen. So it was a whole thing.
And so the chapter ends with Wax strapping Max into his the harness that he has to strap him to his body, and then they're standing outside as all the senators are leaving the Senate House, and Max turns and yells at them, "Don't none of you get jealous or nothing. He can give you a ride for cheap if you ask real nice and stop being a pile of bad turds." Which I love the bad turd return. That was great.
Yeah.
But see, it's like, don't let your kid spend time with Wayne, Wax. It's just gonna call the senators bad turds.
As opposed to good turds.
Well, and so we cut back to Marisai, who is hunting down the cycle, and this was an interesting bit of chapter for me because she's like, creeping along to catch him if he's hiding somewhere. And when I'm reading it, I'm like, no, Marisai, like, he ran off down the hallway to escape. Why would he wait to fight you when he could have fought you in that room if he wanted to fight you? Like, he's going to get away. And then it turns out that no, actually he is waiting in there to ambush her. So I guess shut up, me.
I mean, maybe he recognized, because he obviously knows who she is. I think we get that from the dialogue. He recognized both of them and thought, if I can get her on her own, she'll be easier to kill than if I tried to fight her with Wayne there.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that I guess I wasn't aware of is that, like, he jumps out at her, and also it turns out he's a ferrochemist and he gets bigger and stronger, which that's going to be a problem. But he's like, Trell has wanted you in particular, law woman. So kind of you to deliver yourself to me. And it never occurred to me that Trell would have like a bounty out or something for Marisai. So I was not expecting somebody to be waiting to jump her.
That's true. You were speaking from when you were first reading, and I was speaking from hindsight. So,
but no, it does make sense knowing that, where he's like, Trell wants you. I'm just like, well, why would it take you guys so long then? It's not like she's been hiding.
Maybe Trell's been trying, and like all his agents keep failing badly. He's like, you fuck ups. What is wrong with you? She's one woman.
That's what they have been saying about Wax, probably, except with Wax, he's one man.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you keep dying, you cowards?
I feel like we did get that sentiment in Alloy of Law. It's like, he's one man. What? How is he confounding you this much?
But she notes very quickly that the cycle is moving awkwardly in his bulkier form. And she's like, what kind of ferrochemist doesn't practice with their, like, how is this, like, new for you? And so I'm sure all of us probably were instantly like, well, obviously he's been spiked. Marisai does not jump to that conclusion. So
I guess
maybe
in
I'm the
heat of
only
the
one.
moment, you don't think. In the heat of the moment, she's not thinking straight. It's just like well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
yeah, it's
like,
more of a reaction than a thought out thought.
yeah, because I mean, like, hemalurgy is still comparatively rare, and like, if it's been 6 years, like, we don't know how many hemalurgy people she's run into in the
True.
interim years. So she
Yeah.
might have, like, not forgotten about it, but just like it's been a while since she's like really thought about it.
Yeah, and we've been witness to all the weird shit from before the Catasandra. She's not really privy to all that information, so we kind of expect weird crap like a spiked guy to jump out at you. So
It's true.
I had a random thought as well, like, again, trying to figure out what shard Trell is, and then I think I was just half asleep one night thinking about the chapters, and like the guy had all the spikes driven through, and I'm just like, is Trell just the shard of plagiarism, and he's just stolen all these ideas because he doesn't have an original one himself?
I love that.
I mean, it does sound a bit like that sometimes. Like, why are you doing the same thing?
It's like, oh, I'm gonna come and burn the world down. Yeah, that was ruined shtick.
You're not wrong. That was definitely a thought of mine. It's like, oh, we're just gonna have to kill everyone. I'm like, what? Do you not have your own thing? Like,
Maybe Trell went to like deep freeze, like Dr. Evil, and then came back and was like, I'm gonna make it like Prince Charles had an affair. And everyone's like, it already happened. This is him coming back going, I know, Ash! All lots of Ash. Sir? We're already done that 300 years ago.
yeah.
Trell wants $1
even-
million.
Yeah, exactly. And they all laugh at him.
So Marisai gets into a fight with this dude, and things don't go super well for her. She even uses the grenade that Wax made her, but she's not holding it quite right, so it almost flies out of her hand. And also, like, shoots her rifle away from her and stuff, which is not the best thing. But as the guy grabs her, she pulls out a thing and stabs him, and then she's like, glass dagger. It's a classic, which I loved that.
Yep.
And then he starts to heal from that, and she's like, oh, damn it, he has ferrochemical healing too. And this is when she connects the dots, like, okay, well, you can't just have 2 ferrochemical powers. It's at least no one that she's ever heard of, so clearly this person's using hemalurgy. And then his eyes start to glow red, that's even a level beyond what we've seen from other situations. And he says, Trell is choosing hosts, avatars bestowed with his power. How would you like to be the accomplishment that proves that I'm worthy of immortality, Lawwoman? All you have to do is die. So yeah, that's not good. And she uses the grenade to push herself across this little chasm to get away from him, which it was kind of a slick idea, although she's not experienced with pushing herself through the air, and it does not feel good when she bashes into the wall on the other side. Unfortunately, he's super strong from his ferrochemy, and he just runs and jumps across. So that ain't good. And so she's thinking, like, okay, shot to the head would stop a regular blood maker, so maybe it'll stop this spiked up dude. And she manages to put one into his skull, or 3 technically, into his face, as it says. And as she approaches, the holes in his head start to reseal, and she's like, oh, rusting hell. And so she has to rip his shirt off, and she finds 4 spikes pounded into his ribs, just as she suspected. And so she pulls out her knife and starts digging them out of his body. She's like, I got to get him out of here before he finishes healing.
Which you do.
Yeah, right. And then she notes that one is a strange metal with dark red spots like rust. And she's like, oh, man, I've been looking for one of these forever. Sweet. And as she rips the spikes out, or the first of the 4 spikes, I guess it says, the guy's eyes are glowing red again. And he says, the ash comes again. The world will fall to it. You will get what you deserve, and all will wither beneath a cloud of blackness and a blanket of burned bodies made ash. So that's not good.
Have we been here before? I feel like we've been here before.
Yeah. I don't know. Do anyone have any thoughts on what on earth that means? Or what on Scadrial?
Yeah. What on Scadrial? Trillium makes volcanoes. How about that?
It's coming back.
Okay, I'll allow it. And then right before she yanks out another spike that stops his healing finally, he says, "Your end comes either in ash or at the hands of men of gold and red." So that's a callback to, I think the last time we heard about the men of gold and red was Miles when he died.
Sure, yeah.
Actually, it's like a thing that you see right
Yeah.
before you die, I guess.
Yeah.
I think she
Wouldn't
mentions
have
that, doesn't she, in the later chapters?
Yeah, probably. And so Marisai is just gonna lay down for a little bit because this has not been good.
I've had a trying day.
Yeah, she had a bit of a fight, it happens. And we cut back to Wax and Max flying through the air, having a good old time. Wax sees here what he thinks is a Malwish trade ship hovering over the city, although as we later find out, it is actually a warship. So that's a whole different sort of message. And they go up to the roof and they start playing a game that Max came up with that's basically like Allomancy Fetch or something, where Max throws the ball up with a piece of metal in the middle, and Wax has to use Allomancy to shoot it off to another roof, and then they fly over to the other roof and grab it. So they're both having fun. That's what matters. And this is when Wax has like the introspective moment where he's looking out at the city and out towards the roughs, and he realizes that like I feel like I love my life here as much as I did my life there. I belong here. I want to be here. And he's like, man, just realizing that is amazing.
Is it, though? I feel like that's not good.
It's like, Wax, your character development is over, you say? Okay. Keep that in mind.
Wait a minute. It's happening at the start of the book. Oh, no.
And so while they're playing their game is when he notices, like, that's no trade ship. That's no moon. It's a warship. And he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to go check this out. I'm going to keep my 5-year-old son strapped to my body and fly up into the sky to check out a warship. Because why not?
Genius, farmer. Genius.
Start his education early.
And
He's
so,
experiencing other cultures.
well, okay, yeah, that's true. Pooping in other bathrooms will let you learn a lot about that culture.
Yep. While the Admiral and your dad just wait awkwardly outside. It's like, so, you have to go to the bathroom a lot? Yeah, he's a kid.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, he can't wait. I mean, just wait till you have one, Admiral. I'm actually sterile. Oh, I'm sorry. That was probably something I shouldn't have brought up. Okay. Well, nice ship you got.
But so Marisai gradually makes her way back to the room where she left Wayne and finds that he's sitting there with a bunch of tied up guys playing cards. And Wayne loses this hand of cards. And the tied up guy's like, I mean, you can see what's in our hands. Why would you play it like that? He's like, I got to pretend I can't see your cards, friends. Otherwise, where's the sport in it? Cheating's one thing, but if I can just see what you're going to do, then might as well be playing with myself. And there are much funner ways to do that. Oh, Wayne.
It's true.
So Wayne has ended up with 15 of the guys held captive, which is interesting because if you'll recall, there were 18 guys in bubbles and 11 guys left, not in the bubbles. So he killed all 11 of those, and then also 3 more of the guys he was capturing one at a time, I guess. I don't know how that happened, unless I guess maybe the explosion could have killed some of the ones in the bubbles still. But anyway, Wayne prefers not to kill. So she wasn't surprised he'd taken so many captive. And she's like, Wayne, you're sitting here playing cards. I could have used some help. And he's like, nah, by the time I had these guys all tied up, you already had that fellow in the suit down, and I saw you resting. Seemed best to give you some time. So Marisai's all bloody from the fight and digging the spikes out of that guy. And Wayne's like, damn, did you turn to cannibalism? And she's like, really? That's where your mind goes first? I mean, one sees a lady covered in blood, and it goes to a natural place. Wondering if she feasts on the livers of people what she defeated. Not that I'm judging. She's like, Wayne, you should judge people for that. I'm just saying. Right, shame on you then. Wayne is fun sometimes. Oh, and I kind of skipped over the part where she notes that like the Trillium spike doesn't like the other spikes. It like pushes away from them. So that's also kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
And so Wayne understands how finding Trillium is a really good thing for them. So he's like, we should celebrate. You saved me any liver? And it's like, why are some of these guys barefoot? He goes, shoelaces. When you don't have enough rope, it's an old rough's trick. By the way, shoelaces aren't going to hold them real well. So one of these guys is going to get loose and like come out with a knife or a gun or something here in a minute. We need to do something. And they have code names for their stuff too. She's like, instant backup. He's like, oh, that's a great code name.
Yeah, I do like instant backup.
That's a good one.
It made me think of Get Help from
Yeah,
Thor
Thor.
3.
Yeah. And so Wayne runs off and she puts up a bubble. And to distract them from being in the speed bubble so nobody notices, she starts reading their rights off to them. And so she's thinking back to Miles and the men of red and gold, bearers of the final medal, will come. Now today, the guy's saying the ash comes again. And she's like, well, that can't be true, right? I mean, the world was reborn.
Or was it bum, bum, bum? I don't know.
And then as she's thinking about stuff, she sees a person outside the bubble. And it's not Wayne. It is a female figure with a black cloth mask over her face who walks up, stands outside the bubble, looks at them for a second, and then takes off.
Oh no, Wayne, there are ninjas.
Right? That was my first thought too. Like we got a ninja now? This can't be good.
Yeah, this was probably like the most foreboding thing in the chapter section that we read today. I was just like, well, this can't be good.
Yeah, we just have absolutely no context for this.
Yeah, I mean, any theories? I mean, it's a little early for predicaments, but any theories about who this is or what's going on?
I mean, the mask?
Secret Ninja Society?
The mask made me think, is this connected to the Malwish? I know they have wooden masks, but we've seen them use cloth masks before, so yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's true. That's a good thought.
Yeah, because we know that there are different tribes in like the Malwish of like one of a few tribes, even though the map says the Malwish continent or whatever it says. So it could be just someone from a different tribe coming to size up. Marisai's got to be famous among the Malwish now, so they might be just trying to get her measure for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe now that they've unified, this is like a contingent from another tribe, like you said, but like that are particularly good at espionage and spying.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
I thought it might be Telson.
Ooh.
Also possible.
Yeah, she did get shot in the face.
Well, presumably she healed from that okay, but there could be other reasons she needed to cover her face, I guess.
No, she's
Yeah, I
horribly
just figured if you're kind of being stealthy and trying to figure out stuff, but it was the coming up and sort of making prolonged eye contact and then going away. It's like it's enough that it's a blur. If she knew about the speed, the bubble, possibly, if she knew about the bubble, then she might realize that she can get a good look of what's going on here without tipping them off because it's so much quicker for them, maybe.
Could be.
Yeah.
She's gone rogue.
But
rogue.
Roger, yeah. But not long after she leaves, Wayne and the rest of the constables show up and they drop the bubble, start collecting bad guys, and the evidence Wayne hadn't detonated. And that's the end of that chapter, except that they need to go talk to Wax, but first they need to go take a shower because she's like, judging by how you smell, Wayne, I don't even want to know how I smell. So and then we go back to Wax, who's going to check out the warship, and he can't quite make his way up there with just his pushing. It's a little too high for that.
You win again, gravity.
But they send a little skimmer down to collect him when it becomes obvious, I guess, that he's trying to go there. So that's polite.
Sure.
Imagine he's doing like 4 or 5 jumps up towards this ship and just keeps like trying and trying and trying. The Malwish is just watching him. It's like, should we let him in? It's like, no, let's see how long this goes for.
Like, this twin-born thinks he's so cool, huh? He can't even get up to our ship.
And so we find out there are 5 different nations on the southern continent, and the Malwish are the ones they've interacted with the most up to this point. And the only one who sent an ambassador.
This is a diplomatic ship, then where is the ambassador?
I am the ambassador. Oh, okay.
All right, sounds good. But you're like Vader. Are you sure you're the ambassador? Yeah, I'm just a mean ambassador.
Max and Wax. It just sounds weird to say to me. Maybe it's just I'm used to Wax and Wayne, but Max and Wax or Wax and Max sounds like it's a little too rhymey for me.
Maximum
Wax and Max. Yeah, Max and Wax sounds like a Disney cartoon adaptation of like this story where you go on adventures with Wax and his little son.
I was gonna say Max and Wax sounds like a laundry product.
Oh yeah, I can see that actually.
Yeah, sure.
You put it together with like, wasn't it Smiling Obligator had a laundry detergent?
That's right. The Smiling Obligator cleans tough messes.
They got bought out by Max and Wax a few centuries later.
Yeah. Max and Wax will make your floor shine. And then it has like a, like the little sparkle sound at the end where it's like ka-ching.
But Max is so excited to be on an airship, a real airship, that he's like trembling. But he's also like he's being a good kid, really good 5-year-old. He's standing there patiently holding his dad's hand, and he salutes the person who they find waiting for them. Very cute. And it says that this guy must be the captain, judging by his intricate mask, carved and inlaid with 6 different metals in a pattern.
I'm picturing like a metal Majora's Mask on this guy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I thought of 2 different things. Like I thought of judges' masks from Final Fantasy 12. So to know what I'm talking about, you can look that up. Final Fantasy 12 judge. And then I thought of the masks of like a Praetorian soldier in like Rome, or like a gladiator in Rome.
Oh yeah.
I thought of both of those different kinds of masks.
The description of wood with like inlaid metal makes me think of the mask from Jim Carrey's The Mask.
Yeah. Not the
yeah.
Jamie Kennedy one after, the good one.
But yeah. And the captain immediately recognizes Wax and says, unless I miss my guess, honored once bearer of the bands. And Wax is like, yep, that's me. And also taker of the bands.
Yeah, was that like a subtle like FU, like the once honored holder of the bands? Like you did have them. Like I just don't. It's weird.
I had him one more time than you had him.
No shit. And so he immediately jumps into like accusing them. You should have given those back to us, but you took them. And he was like, actually, we gave them to the conjurer to be held so that no one could use them. If you need to be reminded of that. And the guy introduces himself as Admiral Dahl, and this is his former ship, Blessed Thief, which is an interesting name for your ship. He has been chosen as the new ambassador from the Malwish Consortium. And so he's like, wait, the Malwish Consortium? That makes Wax think, it seems like the unification has been completed in the South. Okay, that's not great for us. What about Jones with 2 N's? I don't know how you would say that.
Private Joannis.
She will be returning home. It has been determined that she has been too familiar. And Wax is like, great. We got an admiral, a military dude, as the new, and the former ambassador has been too familiar. She's too nice to y'all. So maybe that's what happens when you elect a military man as your governor. They're like, okay, well, we will retaliate.
Makes sense. They get into a medal war. It's like, I've got this many medals. Yeah, well, I've got this many across both sides. And like the Ellendale governor just looks at his just like, I need more medals for my other side.
Trade with Wayne some more. Some frilly ribbons. Just make it look real good.
This is just a bottle cap. Why does it say Lone Star?
You got at least yours are made out of metal. Mine's just a little packet of pills.
Was the robot chicken thing? It's like after the Death Star got blown up. It's like Han is looking at his medals, goes, Han's Olo? Come on. And Luke pops in and goes, mine just says participant.
So they get into an argument basically about which side has had the better deal in their trade so far. Neither of them is happy, basically. Although Wax does kind of start thinking about the fact that there's something weird about these medallions. Like, they've got medallions that do the weight and the language and the heat, but why wouldn't they have, like, ferrochemical strength medallions to have an army of super strong dudes, or mental speed, or any of that other stuff? Or medallions that make you an allomancer? They haven't seen any of this stuff. There's some sort of secret that they're not, he's like, there's something more here that they're not telling us. And so while they're kind of staring each other down, Max is like, Dad, I need to go potty.
It was during Marvel's Civil War, there was an issue of Cable and Deadpool where they were on opposite sides, and so they were fighting, but they were also stuck together because of their teleporting thing. Like, they always teleported together. They both hated it. And Cable dropped into the Oval Office to talk to the president about the Superhero Registration Act, and Deadpool like teleported in with him. and Deadpool had been tied to a chair for like 12 hours. So like Cable and the president are trying to have this big talk about registration. Deadpool goes, "I'm sorry, Mr. President, I need to pee." And they all just look at him, and the president just goes, "Yes, it's just down the hallway there. It's like, Secret Service guys, can you help him out? Thanks."
Yeah, no, that sounds Deadpool-y.
Classic.
And yeah, the Admiral's like, he can wait. And Wax is like, do you have any children? 5-year-olds do not wait. So yeah, then they awkwardly stand outside the restroom. And Max is like, wow, it's so small. So excited. And then while they're standing outside the bathroom, the Admiral's like, so the band's mourning, they're safe? And Wax is like, I mean, I assume. I haven't actually seen them since we gave them to the Chondra. And the Admiral's like, completely unrelated topic. I saw those gun emplacements your city has out there. I mean, what's your max range on those? 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet? And then he's like making intimations. Like, I mean, I wonder what would have happened if we'd met during a more warlike era. I mean, one quick bombing run and you guys would fold like an old flag. And so, they're kind of making some veiled threats, mostly Dahl, but Wax gets his little share in here too. He's like, I wouldn't want to find out if I was you people.
Who you calling you people?
And finally, the guy's like, look,
Yeah.
I'm not here to start a war, but the band's mourning. They should be with us. They belong with us. And Wax is finally like, I mean, has to stop himself. Be like, I don't speak for Ellendale. Even as a senator, I don't speak for everybody. He's like, I mean, you should take that up with the governor and the Senate then. And maybe with God. Which is not just the kind of thing where a normal person would say, yeah, maybe go talk to God about that. He means it literally. Like, maybe you should take it up with God.
Nice guy, likes to talk to people.
I got an earring. Maybe he'll talk to you. You want to try?
Yeah, check it out.
And as Max comes out, and as they're leaving, the ambassador's like, it's good to meet you. Good for me, yeah. Shows which stories I should believe. And he goes, which ones are those? And Dahl goes, the true ones, of course. I trust my time here will be profitable. Good day, Senator. So what the hell does that mean?
He goes back into the ship, and you just hear this, hey, you're supposed to flush!
Or even better, it's like, how did he get it on the ceiling?
And they get back home, and Steris is putting Tyndall down for a nap. And Max is like, Mom, I got to poop on an airship. And I got some strange toilet paper.
I love that she replies with only the enthusiasm a mother can reply with or something. It's like, oh, yep.
Yeah, that gave me the impression of she's like, oh my gosh, you did. It's like, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep, I know exactly what it's talking about. It's just like they come in and it's like, Dad, an alligator ate me. I'm like, really? That's so exciting.
That's wow.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to hear that.
I am excited about this information, and I don't know what to do with it.
But I also got some strange toilet paper. It's white instead of brown. I traded for it, just like Uncle Wayne says.
Oh, no.
Oh dear.
No. The accents were one thing, but this is not something you want Wayne passing on to your children.
Yeah, especially since he appears to have just traded his feces for the toilet paper. It doesn't seem like a great
I mean,
trade.
that does feel like an appropriate trade, but when you start trading turds for something else, this is the
It's a
problem.
slippery slope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
yeah.
Just imagine, like, an international incident starts over this. It's like, we are going to war. Why? Because of one of our bathrooms had all the toilet paper stolen. Damn it!
Yeah.
Like, that
My
seems kind of petty.
my favorite
We are a
would be-
petty people.
Yeah, we are a petty and masked people. I just want to imagine Max walking around in regular life being like, oh man, I really want that, but I don't have anything to trade for it. Oh wait, hold on. And then he just like runs to the bathroom.
He keeps the doggy bags in his pocket at all times, just
Yeah.
so he's always at the ready.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I'm going to put this bag here, and I'm going to take this, and we're even. We're square.
Who is not paying it?
Marasite drops Max off at home, just like Wax. We had to arrest him again. It happened again. He's like, oh god, what was it this time? Birdcage. Shit.
It's like, what did he get for it? Well, it was a piece of chewing gum. Oh god.
One interesting point that I took out of here was that Wax is like, tell Steris, you were right about the unification timetable. The ambassador will announce a new consortium of states under the Malwish banner. So Steris had worked out when the Malwish unification was going to be complete. She's just so useful, so helpful to have around. And while he was gone, they received a card from Marisai. Meet us at the mansion at 3. Exciting news.
I killed the guy and dug out his piercings.
Sounds exciting to me.
Yeah, sounds like my Saturday night.
And Wax says, should we bring Max? And Steris says, how likely is it to involve explosions? And he says, I mean, with us, you can never tell. And she says, okay, he stays here with Kath then. His history tutor's coming anyway. That's probably a good idea. We've taken him on enough dangerous missions today. And then we go back to Marisai, who's walking into the constable's, the 4th Octant Constabulary headquarters. Nice and cleaned up, nice uniform on. And everyone turns and looks at her, and then there's applause. And she's thinking, oh, that's okay. This is you're not supposed to be applauded by your coworkers. Like, this is a little bit awkward, but it's nice to be appreciated. And she's glad handing some people, she's got actual friends in her job now, which she's like, wow, this is finally passes Gorglin, who, if you'll recall, was the guy that Wayne said is a giraffe. The tall man's head almost brushed the ceiling, so that confirms why he's a giraffe, I guess. And then when we get inside to Constable General Reddy's office, he says, Constable Combs, can you make any sense of this? And here's a sketch of Gorglin as a giraffe hiding in a constable's uniform, and it says, approved by expert types. Oh, Wayne.
He raided the stationery cupboard again, and we found this.
And then he just puts it in a big folder on the corner of his desk where he keeps Wayne complaints about Wayne. And it sees so much use that he doesn't even bother putting it back in the filing cabinet anymore, because he'll just have to pull it right back out again.
This just made me think of, there's an episode of The Office where the HR guy listens to people complain about their coworkers, and then he writes down everything they say, and he keeps the complaints like in folders in a filing cabinet. And at one point, the Michael Scott, the Steve Carell character, takes the folders from him because he thinks that it's unhealthy for them to just talk about it and never do anything. So he's going to get all the people to air out their complaints with each other out in the open. And there's like a little thing where it cuts to him. He's like, I noticed none of these complaints are about me. And then it goes back to the HR guy, and he's like, oh, I have a separate file for Michael. And it's like an entire like box of stuff from and he's like, this is just the first quarter.
Oh, The Office. We also find out that some men in bowler hats have been here looking for Wayne. Reddy says some accounting firm, probably the collections department. It seems like Wayne owes money to important people this time.
Made me think of the government guys from Red Dead.
Yeah, yep. I can see that. And so she says, okay, I'll take care of it. And he trusts her. He's like, okay, I'll leave that to you. The governor has been after me to get evidence that the outer cities are siphoning off weapons, and you proved that today. Like, I am a happy police chief today. But what she found in the Cycle's pocket is a list of tests that they were running to see how often shipments into Ellendale were inspected. And he's like, wait, what? Not like shipments out of Ellendale? It's not illegal to ship things into Ellendale. What's going on? And he's just like, I find this vaguely unnerving. And I'm sitting here thinking like, well, yeah, you should. It sounds like they're going to try to sneak in, I don't know, a bomb or something. Like, although I'm not sure what would be outside the city that they need to sneak in at this point, that they would have to sneak in like in a shipment, that they couldn't sneak in, other ways, but I don't know.
Plague rats.
Oh, maybe. And so she's got an idea for a sting, basically. So these guys were about to make a shipment of weapons and food and stuff to Bilming. And she says that like they'd be running quiet right now. They didn't have any radio equipment down there. Probably no one knows that we've taken these guys, so they're probably still expecting that shipment. We could, deliver it ourselves and snag them all up. And Reddy's concerned that like you can't hold that like subterfuge very long. And Merritt says like, well, I mean, we do have the Cycle's corpse. And he doesn't pay attention to that right away. She has to come back in a minute and mention it again. But he's like, you realize that most people don't believe in this secret organization you keep chasing, right? And she's like, well, I mean, those guys were working for somebody back when Mr. Suit, Wax's uncle, when we captured him with all those guys. Clearly something was going on. So Reddy's like, well, I believe you. It's just a lot of people, they're looking at this kind of sideways. She has to mention the corpse again. He's like, wait, how does having a corpse help us? She's like, I'll ask Harmony to lend us a Condra. And that makes Reddy even more uncomfortable. Like, he's uncomfortable when she implies that she's close to God. And she's like, really, I've never met him. I know death way better than I know God. Yeah, that makes it better.
You met Death once.
Yeah, right? As far as we know.
Yeah.
Maybe they hang out.
She's never met God, though.
It's true.
Yeah. She's actually not dating Alex. She's dating Marsh.
That would be interesting. But yeah, he's like, look, the governor's going to be so happy with what you did today. Funding approved for whatever it is you're wanting to do. Well, let's do it. She shows him the Trellium. He's like, wait, is that Adium? And she's like, no, we think it's Trellium, a metal from off-world. Which, once again, makes him uncomfortable. He doesn't like to talk of other worlds. But she's like, I'm going to show this to Wax first. And where everybody's like, I thought he was retired. And she's like, for this, you can probably consider him on the case. She comes back out, finds Wayne hiding from those bean counters. And she's like, Wayne, they're bothering Reddy. You need to do something. Who do you owe money to this time? None of your business. I'll make sure they don't bother Reddy anymore. Fine. And she says, okay, I've set up a meeting for 3 o'clock with Wax. And Wayne's like, all right, well, we got work to do. Let's go. And that's the end of our chapters. So.
Wait. You skipped over the whole part where he's a woman and he steals half her sandwich.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you know, Wayne's doing his normal thing where he's dressing up.
Okay. Well, I'm not even going to mention the woman and the sandwich.
I mean, it's really not that
lunch.
weird for Wayne that, you know, either dressing up like a woman and eating her sandwich. None of that is strange for Wayne.
Did he trade for the sandwich? I forget.
Yes. No, he just took half of it because he tried to take her tray like she was done.
Yeah, he just thieved it.
So yeah, you know, Wayne's doing Wayne. What do you want? But no, okay, let's move into predicaments. We've had an interesting few chapters here. What do you guys think is coming up next?
So the immediate thing, I think, I'm gonna stick with what I said earlier. I think she's gonna bring him the Trellium, and that's actually what he's supposed to make the earring out of. I don't know why yet, though. I don't have a theory as to why that would work the way it works. Although, while we've been talking and thinking over things, I came up with a theory about Trell that I'll share in a minute. It's probably way wrong. I have to admit that I actually got the theory from Dragon Ball Z, so it's probably way wrong. But anyway, so as far as the immediate stuff goes, yeah, I think he's gonna clue in that he's supposed to be making that Harmony wants to make an earring out of Trellium. I don't think he's gonna do it because he's pissed off at Harmony, I guess, still. Which that's kind of weird, a little iffy, but whatever. Yeah, I definitely think that this ninja lady is. I'm with Dak now. I think that was a really good theory. That she's probably from the Malwish trying to do some spying, maybe part of the spy network. Or the other possibility I thought of is that it could be somebody from Bilming who was coming to check on the progress on the shipment, even though they're not supposed to communicate. And so they could actually be ready for her in Bilming based on that person being in the cave and seeing her. That's a possibility I thought of as well.
That would not bode well for the sting, huh?
No, it definitely would not. So we've got that in play. I really don't know what's going to go on with this new Malwish ambassador. I don't really know what changes that's going to really make. I'm just trying to think of all the things that could come into play in this book. Like we have the Malwish, we have Trell, we have behind the scenes and the set and all that. And then we also have like this bill that basically is making the outer cities who are already have tension between them and Ellendale. Now it's going to raise tensions even more. So, there could be like an all-out war in our future in this book. I don't know. That just seems like an interesting place to go, also a weird place to go. Although if this is the final part of Era 2, we know that the final book in Era 1 was bonkers. Like the world was coming to an end. There was lava everywhere. There was ash mounts and people dying everywhere. So, you would hope that we're not going to have a catastrophic situation like we had in that book based on what's been going on, but we definitely could. It's definitely a possibility. But yeah, that's all I've got for immediate prediction. So I'll move on to what I think about Trell. So we were talking and I was thinking, and then I thought about Dragon Ball Z for some reason. That popped in my head. I think maybe we made a reference to it or something. Maybe DBZ abridged. And I was thinking, wait a minute. What if, this is a big if, because we don't really, like, Trell is on schedule, but as far as we knew in Era 1, there was no other gods that created this planet or were inhabiting this planet. You had ruin and preservation. And so then I thought, well, maybe Trell was like a secret third god, and he actually made the planet itself, and that's why he can create, like, fire and ash or something. Like he is the planet of Scadrial, the actual ground itself. I thought about that for a minute, but then I thought it'd be even more interesting, although somewhat derivative of Dragon Ball Z, like I said. What if Harmony, after becoming a god, realized that his like selfish, like more human tendencies were getting in the way of him being a balanced and good influence on the planet, and so he somehow stripped himself of all of his like negative emotions, being all of the things that made him more human, because he was afraid of becoming like a Lord Ruler, and decided to split himself literally. And so by doing so, he actually created a new metal and a new entity that ended up being Trell. Now, here's where that is probably going to fall apart. From what we know, Trell existed way before Era 1, so that's possibly not it at all. But we also know that Seize knew about the Trellish religion or whatever, so could have possibly separated this entity and somehow began calling it Trell. Although it doesn't seem like Harmony knows a lot about Trell, so maybe I'm way off here. But I just thought that was a cool idea.
Yeah, Seize is the one who told us about it, so he could totally know all about it.
He would know about Trell, but wouldn't know necessarily if Trell existed or not, unless the shards have given him some kind of new knowledge, which they may have. I don't know. But yeah, that's my out there theory. I thought it was a cool idea, but I don't know how much stock I actually have in it.
I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, that is some creative thinking, at least, on this. I like that you've put a lot of thought into that one. So we can, if nothing else, that's probably the best theory that we've got so far about what is up with that Trell dude. Although getting rid of his negative or human qualities would be tough when he's like half ruined. So the human part of him maybe been keeping that in check a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know how it would fully work. So maybe the other theory I had is better, where Trell is like the actual planet itself, but I don't know.
You also had some interesting, you're pointing out that there's like, we're kind of approaching war, not really just one war. We're approaching two potential wars here. And we're at this point, 15% of the way through the final book in this era. So unless the era is going to end with like, nukes fall, everybody dies, it would have to be a quick war.
Yeah, I guess there was more buildup with Era 1 to like the world ending, because you kind of had the second and third book for that. But we know how Brandon is. Sometimes stuff happens real quick.
That's true.
Well, I guess this sort of ties into what I was going to say. But like the last book did do a lot of setting up that there is potential war with the outer cities. They were leaning on that hard, and I think even in the second book, in Shadows itself, they mentioned it a bit, that the outer cities weren't doing so well and they weren't happy with the Elendel government. And then all of a sudden at the end of book 3, they introduced this other faction from across the sea, or I guess just down south because the landmass is connected. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, we've actually got two wars on the forefront. So what I was going to suggest is I think overall in this book, we're going to have divergent storylines. I think Wax is going to be trying to prevent the war with the Malwish, and Marasai is going to be trying to prevent the war with the outer cities, and they only cross over insofar as Trell is connected to both. So it's going to be a whole case of them trying to, having their separate investigations that keeps going wrong because Trell is manipulating them both, and they need to come together at the end and try and prevent both wars from blowing out because Trell is behind both, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent that's going to take, but yeah, I feel like Wax and Marasai are going to be heavily separated for a lot of the book as they investigate the two different things and trying to prevent them both from blowing up, and then then secretly they'll come to Trell and find out how like some big plot he's got is intended to blow both wars up at the same time and just wipe everyone out in the wars, because that's what his agent at the end of the last book implied. It's like, well, bugger this, kill them all. So a nice big pair of wars like fought at the same time will do that quite well. Yeah, I don't really know what else. I think that, like I said, I think that this masked person is a Malwish, might be a Trellish agent. I do like the idea that keeping an eye on the shipment, finding out what was really up. I think that's an excellent idea. So we'll see how that pans out. I feel like that one's going to come off sooner. with the amount of emphasis placed on Max early in this book, I feel like he's going to have a major part to play, but I don't know what that will be. But they're really hammering home, even in the Senate meeting. It's like, Wax, you're a parent now. You need to think of this like a parent. So I feel like that's going to be a heavy factor in this book. Wax acting the parent and trying to guide things with love and care and being unselfish in his motives in how he conducts himself. And Max is going to be like the embodiment of that side of things for him throughout the book, if that makes sense.
No, yeah. I think I get what you're saying. And you're right. They have been hammering pretty hard at the beginning of this book, the whole new parent thing. We got like 2 whole Wax chapters at least that was all around about Max, basically.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of expecting Telson to show back up in this book. So I thought it might be interesting if she's kind of gone off. I mean, she's obviously part of the set and reasonably high up from a Trell perspective. I just kind of thought that she would be around, and it would just be kind of a bit of a mystery that she was still around.
Your idea may be my favorite one so far, including the one that I had when I got there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what her involvement would still be. You know, we also don't know whether she just kind of got blown up as well. Like Trell was like, you failed, and this is that now. Sorry.
Yeah,
we don't
he
know
was kind
how
of cleaning
much
house, it seemed like. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, maybe she got away from all of that. Maybe she's still useful. Maybe he's just let her go, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know what exactly made me think of that. I just thought maybe it would be annoying for Wax as well to have his sister show back up. But we didn't get really enough of a look or enough information. But I do like the idea of this person coming to check on the shipment or something like that too. And because, yeah, you kind of lulled into this false sense of security that, oh, yeah, you've got the upper hand and then you really don't. And, yeah, I guess if Trell is, like, effectively possessing people, you know, it's a bit of a, yeah, let's spike you and now you're my agent. I mean, it's terrifying. It could be anybody at any time, and that communication sort of goes both ways, really. It does sound very much like Trell. It's very similar to an Adium sort of thing. So where the Trell was kind of around from the beginning, I really like the idea that it's like we've heard Trell before, but then there's like evil phased is Trell. Like, I think that's really kind of cool. You know, especially we know that Harmony was having some issues in the last book. We don't really know why. He was in this bit of a fog. So, I don't know. I reckon there's some merit to that idea. That sounds really cool as well. As for what's going to come up next, so, I mean, I think we're still a bit early to be making predictions. I know the whole point of making predictions is that you don't know what's coming, but I feel like I need to see this meeting of like our 4 main characters to happen before I can go, okay, here we're going. We're looking at 2 wars, but we're really looking at 3 because Trell might be involved in the others, but overall, Trell's coming for Scadrial, whoever Trell is. So you've kind of got this civil war, then you've got the war between the Basin and the Malwish, and then the war on Scadrial. So I reckon the first 2 are probably gonna get solved mid-book. I reckon they're big, but I think they'll be solved quicker. And then it'll be probably a case of they have to unite in some fashion, or they've picked sides, and the bigger battle will happen. But you know, everyone's done a lot of growing and a lot of learning, and I don't know that anyone's safe in this book. It's so much starting the new book. It's just so much. God, oh, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen to these people that I love. Yeah, bit nervous for our protagonists.
Yeah, last book. Anybody? I mean, in the last book of the first era, Vin and Elend both die at the end of the books. So that means anybody's on the table, basically.
Anyone's on the table. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
But I do like you pointing out that it's like really there's this third war going on, because we even get a hint that maybe there could even be a group of people ready to attack when we're talking about the men of red and gold or whatever. So it's like, maybe there is another group just waiting to sweep in and do some damage.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Okay. See, you got me paranoid now. We're gonna be paranoid this book. Anything could happen at any moment to anyone that we care about.
Just what Jack was saying too about little Max being central to it. I was like, oh no, what if Trell chooses Max to be an agent of his.
Oh,
That's
shit.
just going to be the worst for Wax.
Oh,
no.
no, yeah, that would be terrible.
That's
Oh,
too far.
That's
Too far.
horrifying. Yeah, I agree. Too
I
far.
know. I'm hoping that if I think the worst, then it won't be as bad.
There you go. Yeah, okay. That's a good approach. Besides, predicting the worst will be the most entertaining for the listeners, so it's fine.
It's true.
Okay. Well, speaking of what comes next, for next time, we are reading 6 more chapters. That's going to be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. 11 through 16. We got that in our chat while I'm thinking about it. Yeah, so I told you guys, we got some big chunks this book. Beyond that, we do not have any new emails, any new patrons, any new anything that we need to go over this time out. This will be a quick wrap up. If anyone would like to send us emails, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and Patreon where I'm releasing my own first reactions as I was reading this book. So that's still in the process of coming out, those episodes. We have had issues the last couple of weeks. I was telling these guys about with Pocket Casts. Actually, first week it was Apple Podcasts and Pocket Casts. We're not updating with our new episode on Monday. I think I got the Apple Podcast thing fixed because it updated fine this week, but Pocket Casts still waited till Wednesday to put up our new episode. So if anyone does listen to us on Pocket Casts, through Pocket Casts, I'm sorry that about the delays. I'm seeing if I can figure out anything, but that is not one of the ones that I specifically signed us up for and have like an account where I put our thing on there. So I don't have as much control over that as I do on, say, like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, where I created the account. So I'm working on figuring out why that is and what I can do to get those updating again. But
if you guys want to, if you want to email us, I would really love to hear from you guys, especially if you were at the con and we didn't get to see you, or even if we did get to see you. I'd just love to hear from you guys. And, we talked a couple episodes ago about what we felt about the convention, and I'd just like to hear everybody else's thoughts. If anybody else was there that listens, shout out to us. We'd like to know what you guys thought was fun, even if it's something you can only share with Data. He can share the vague excitements that you guys maybe had. I'd love to hear it.
You can be like, hey, yeah, I met those guys. They were jerks. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank you for listening, everybody. Like I said, 6 chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo? And not too long after she's done with that and she's watching these guys, she starts thinking, like somebody mentioned, it's like, oh, hi, what's up?
Yeah, ask me something.
What do you need to ask me, baby?
I want to hug you.
Well, I love huggies. Come here.
Oh.
Okay, go play.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
I think we need to take a moment to realize how adorable that was.